When making cold brew coffee, it's important to pick the really good beans because here's where it matters, the texture and the flavor of your beans. So you get whole beans, and for cold press it's best to use a medium roast because the roasting process is a process of heating up the bean, and if you used a dark roast, which is I drink French roast, but it wouldn't work so well in the cold press because it's more like a smoky flavor because of the roasting process. So when I use a medium roast bean, it just turns out more coffee flavored. So what you need is one of these grinders or any grinder, and set it to. You're gonna want to set the coarse. People usually think that the cold coffee should be coarsely ground, but I actually have much better success with fine ground coffee. And I use 1 pound of beans to 1 gallon of water. And as you can see, I really like cold press. So I do it in bulk, and I buy 1 gallon jars, and then I fill them with water. And I actually get my water from a brewery, so I get the water that they make beer out of, and that's why I keep them in glass jars because I don't want them to be in plastic vessels. I've got the medium roast coffee ground up now, and this is what a pound of coffee looks like when it's ground. And it's time to put it in the jar, and I found that the best way to fill the jar is to leave enough space for the coffee grounds. So depending on the size of vessel that you use, keep in mind that you're going to put a lot of volume into the water. Here's about the time when I would use a funnel to put the coffee grounds into the water, but for the life of me, I have no idea where my funnels are. I think that they sprung legs and they're hiding from me. Maybe it was because they knew I was making a video. So I took a coffee filter and I just made a hole in it. So yeah, that's what I do. Okay, so let's see how successful and or unsuccessful this is. Oh, it's working. Actually, two-handed, it works just fine. One-handed, not so much, but I'm going to keep showing you the one-handed method because I'm holding the camera with my other hand. See, it works great. Nope, that didn't work great. So there's some grounds that didn't quite make it in everywhere. Now that I have it as full as I can, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on and shake it up so that all of the grounds get moist. And then I'm going to leave it for 12 to 24 hours. It depends on how you like the flavor. Cold pressed coffee has a low acid content, so it's pretty smooth. Now I'm going to fill a wide mouth vessel, leaving enough room for the coffee grounds, and this is just one that has a spout on the bottom, and you can see without without a funnel or anything, this is actually quite easy. So I'll go ahead and fill this up. So when you have your 1 gallon jar filled up with coffee, so there's about the ratio of water to coffee grounds, you just go ahead and put a spoon in and make sure that all of the grounds get wet. And as soon as they're wet, you're fine to seal it up and just leave it. You don't have to stir it ever again. And I'm just going to keep going with my makeshift funnel until I find my real funnels, which are in trouble when I do find them. As you can see, it's much more successful when you leave more space in the jar for the grounds. Good night, my delicious coffee babies. I'm going to leave you overnight and then see how you are tomorrow. And I'm just going to leave it on the countertop. And I've used room temperature water because I've always had best success with room temperature water versus cold water. Other people might do that. And I've made about 5 gallons here. And part of the reason that I make my own cold press at home is because I only drink decaf. And this will save me about $4 a cup every time I go to the specialty coffee shop. And then when I go to the specialty coffee shop, because I only drink decaf, and trust me, there's plenty of pep in my step without the caffeine. So I asked for the decaf pressed coffee, and they don't have it. So what they do is they brew regular coffee, and then they pour some ice over it, which is not at all like the delicious goodness right in front of us. And then I had 2 more jars, so I went ahead and made some tea. So you can just put the tea bags in the tea if you like, or I also made a blend here of some decaf black tea and then some of the floral tea. And I'll come back to the teas sooner than the coffee. Good night, my babies. Okay, it's time, and look what I found, my funnels. Yay. So it's been 21 hours, and the only reason I chose the time of 21 hours is because that's when I got around to it. So it's time. There's one of the teas right here, and then I now have an empty jar from another one of the teas. And I'm going to use my larger funnel and put a coffee filter in and dump all the grounds into the empty jar. And then it'll just be a magic shell game from there on. I don't know why all of a sudden I have to use the restroom. Coffee filters and cheesecloth alone are taking too much time, so I'm filtering out the larger particulate with a large colander, and then I'm catching it in a basin underneath before I then siphon it through cheesecloth or coffee filters. Make sure you keep these coffee grounds because they're excellent for your garden. There's acid-loving plants like azaleas or rhododendrons or blueberries. They all love coffee grounds. So I'm keeping all this, and I'm going to go pour it out in my garden. Here I'm just showing you. I know it seemed like a lot of work to use a coffee filter, but here's all the soot that I would get if I didn't strain out the fine particulates. So I don't really want to drink that, and that's why I use a coffee filter. Here's my yummy composting pile so far. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Once your cold press is done, go ahead and put it in the refrigerator, and it'll stay for a while in there. And serve it the way that you like. And I'm going to go ahead and pour mine up. I've got mine chilled already. And you could water it down if you think it's a little bit too strong. There we go. Enjoy. Blended. So I'm just going to add some good quality milk, just a little bit, and then my coffee concentrate because I like it pretty strong. I've already chilled this coffee. You can see how delicious that is. And with most blenders these days, you can just take the bottom off of your blender if you don't want to use your entire blender, and then just take the lid off of a mason jar, and it will fit. And then just screw it on. And you're ready to go. Now you have single serve size. And then I'll just put this on the blender and blend it up. And here we go. So it's finished. And if you want something sweet, you go ahead and just add some chocolate syrup. And then you have what I call a poor man's iced mocha. And there we go. Delicious.